Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
My anus is bleeding!
He can't sit down.
They call them dumps, big massive dumps.
Got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Beta male.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you don't do it.
Oops.
We're under attack. It is an alien force, not of this world. It's not human intelligence.
Bullshit.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Bullshit.
It's not a salami sandwich.
Disappointed!
Repeat the line.
Disappointed!
How you like that, boy?
No.
Give me a break.
Stop it.
Fired.
Fired! Fired!
Bitch, move it along.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
I apologize for nothing. I concede nothing.
What's up, everybody? TGIF. It's Friday. We got a Friday show for you all today. Fun Friday. Lots of interesting stories, including, look, I'm going to go over Matt Walsh's video. Hilarious. So I know it's like, oh, I'm trying to be like a super tough guy. Yeah, piss off. Yeah. No, it's hilarious. So we're going to go over that. And I'm going to make fun of it. We're also going to make fun of Rudy Giuliani, who may or may not, by the end of the show, be arrested. Fun. We have some bad advice, possibly, from a pastor. No, not possibly. You'll see. We have Republicans that, unsurprisingly, we find out more details of Republicans behind the scenes defending Donald Trump. Great. And then we have just right-wingers melting down over Dank Brandon, what he did yesterday. So that's fun. You're going to enjoy the show today. So please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. With that said, let's dive in. Oh, by the way, before we do, again, like and share, super chats, all the wonderful things that, you know, help us out. With that, now we can. On the uncovering of old tapes from Matt Walsh's radio show, where he, you know, talked about getting married to teen girls, how getting married to teen girls is awesome because of how fertile they are. He decided to, you know, in the ensuing backlash, of course, from that, he decided to put out this hilarious video. Take a look.
So here's my official answer for the record. Kiss my ass. I do not apologize. In fact, by all rights, you sick freaks should be the ones apologizing to me for lying and defaming me, and doing it all because I'm trying to prevent you from sexually mutilating children. You damned monsters. You child-abusing psychopaths. I wouldn't apologize to you, soulless parasites, if I had a gun to my head. Instead, I'd rather just tell you all to piss off. I apologize for nothing. I concede nothing. I will never surrender even a single inch of ground to a pitchfork mob of degenerate morons. You know, the secret they never say out loud is that nobody is truly canceled unless they consent to it and they willingly play their assigned roles. Well, I do not consent. And I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. I don't consent to being canceled. You can't cancel me. I'll never apologize. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Okay, look, there's a lot in that which is obvious projection. Okay? You sick freaks. Dude, you're the one who was talking on camera about the fertility of 16 and 17-year-olds, underage girls. Please. You want to talk about morality? He's like, oh, well, you know, I think that the teenagers should be able to get married. Weird. And have babies, by the way, too. No, but, okay, so the other thing about this, getting back to the hilarious parts about this, is I will never apologize. Nobody wanted your apology. Nobody cares about your apologies. Nobody wants it. Now, look, in a tweet, by the way, he said this. This is the point in the cancellation where the target is supposed to fall to his knees and beg forgiveness from a bunch of slandering trolls. We use it. It's his own video. It's his own words. I can't believe you would slander me with things that I have said. Somehow, that is slander. Okay, great. Wonderful. I will be skipping that part of the ceremony. I apologize for nothing. Piss off. Thank you. I just love by the way, the passive aggressive thank you after telling people to piss off. Like, that's just funny. Again, I don't take Matt Walsh seriously because he is a clown. He is a ridiculous person. Matt, no one wants to see you on your knees. Believe me. Nobody. But look, in reality, here's the situation, okay? Matt Walsh doesn't give a damn about protecting children, okay? He doesn't give a damn about morality, right? This guy's a sick individual who is obsessed with other people's body parts, specifically that of teen girls. That's his words, not ours. All right? He's obsessed, by the way, with trans people, with things that do not affect them whatsoever. And it's ironic, this man who goes around calling people groomers, right, wants to groom teen girls into what he calls traditional gender roles. As in getting married and pregnant before they're 20. Okay? Before their brain is even fully developed. Now, that said, it doesn't even lead to longer, healthier marriages as people like this purport. What it does is it actually leads to the opposite, as people tend to grow and change over time, and part of that growth is growing apart. So there are more divorces. Now, the reason, of course, that people stayed together in the 1950s is, which he really wants to go back to, okay? It's because the woman had no choice. She had no financial security, no resources of her own. She couldn't get a credit card. She couldn't get a loan without her husband's approval. The woman was, at that point in time, entirely financially dependent on the man. Understand that that's what Matt Walsh wants to revert society back to. He wants to force society back to this. Now, I have no issue with people nowadays who choose to be in that kind of relationship because that's consensual, right? It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my life. You want to do traditional gender roles? You and your, husband or you and your wife agreed to that. She stays home, raises kids. I don't give a damn. That's totally fine. That's your decision. That's your life. What I do have a problem with is making the situation using the legal structure of the United States, laws, and other ways, of structuring society to force women back into those roles. That's what I have a problem with. And the best way to do that, by the way, to take away women's economic power, and that's really what it's about, right, is to take away their ability to control their own reproductive health. Those things are very, very linked. Okay? The time where you actually saw the wealth of women increase and the ability for women to strike out on their own and to not have to be trapped in these marriages is around the time where birth control was legalized, the birth control pill. So, look, these people want to control women. And again, they're using reproduction. That's why they go after abortion laws. So, and the younger women, by the way, the younger women are forced into pregnancy and motherhood, the more likely they're going to end up being trapped under the thumbs of their husbands. That's the world Matt Walsh wants to live in. And so it's no surprise that these incels, these chuds, love this guy. Like, yes, make it a situation where no matter how much of a shitty person I am, I'm going to make it so that these women can't leave me. It's super, first of all, it's incredibly beta, right? Because these men are boys are just scared.
Beta male.
They're scared and they're insecure. And they don't think, what do I bring to the table? I don't bring anything to the table for these women. So guess what? Instead of actually improving myself and becoming a better person, I'm just going to, get the laws to control women's bodies so that I can control them and keep them with me, to force them to stay with me. That's what this is about. Call it what it is. Now, there's more. Walsh also had a 2013 blog post that he had deleted that argued that the concept of adolescence is a plague on modern society. I'm not kidding. Here's what he wrote. In modern Western society, we've delayed the onset of adulthood, instead inventing a new sort of human, the teenager. The teenager exists in this limbo, which we've created. We call it adolescence. Adolescence is a state-of-the-art modern innovation like crack or chemical warfare. What? What? Oh, yeah. Being a teenager is like crack. Okay. He said, adolescence isn't a product of brain chemistry. It's a product of our expectations. If we expect 23-year-olds to act like they're 13, then we will get just that. For thousands of years, 13-year-olds were expected to act like they're 23, and those expectations were met. Really, Matt, you know what? Yes, that's why there were child soldiers and children working in the coal mines and the factories. Then we realized as a society that that's fucking barbaric. That's monstrous, and we shouldn't force children into the mines. We shouldn't force children into the battlefield. Now, Matt Walsh, is that what you're in favor of? I mean, that's what you're arguing, right? Yeah, let's treat 13-year-olds, as if they're military age. Let's give them assault rifles, let's give them guns, high-powered weaponry, and we'll send them out to the battlefield. So they can be murdered, maimed, killed, or kill others. You're gonna send a child out to do that. Why not? Why not? You're the one who's making the argument, dude. No, he's also making the argument, though, that, 13-year-old girls, that's what I really want. Get them 13-year-olds pregnant. That's what I want to do. That's Matt Walsh. What a creep. What a creep. Now, look, society doesn't agree with him. Thankfully, we've evolved. And neither, of course, does science. The World Health Organization describes adolescence as a phase of life between childhood and adulthood, between the ages of 10 and 19, when young people experience rapid physical, cognitive, and psychosocial growth that affects how they feel, think, make decisions, and interact with the world around them. Yes, that is a time and period of growth. That is not a time where women should be having families, should be having children and getting married and making these lifelong decisions. That is not the time to be making these decisions. Look, a lot of us who are in our 30s and 40s, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm close. Look, when I think about that, I think back and I was like, oh my God, cringe. Jesus Christ, what a dumbass. And look, I think a lot of people, when they're older, they'll look back and they'll have this introspection and they'll say, yeah, I made some pretty bad decisions when I was younger, when I was in my teens. But Matt Walsh, Matt Walsh wants, thinks that thinks that people of that age are responsible enough, mature enough, etc., to make decisions about having families, which is a huge economic issue, by the way. I mean, you're expecting kids that are in high school to be able to not only go to high school, but to work and then get a career while taking care of a baby. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. That's in Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh. Cringe. Remember, some of these unearthed tapes, this is from an old radio show where Matt Walsh was shooting an intern in the ass with a stun gun. His bare ass. Then you want to tell me that someone who does that, that's mature enough? Come on, dude. Come on. No, Matt Walsh, again, he's cringe. He's a creep. And I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, the FBI discovered some things on his laptop that maybe shouldn't be there. I don't know for certain, but if he wants to go around and, make all these allegations about people being pedophiles, well, I mean, hey, those who protest that much, it's possible. Just saying. All right, moving on. One more quick thing, by the way, about consent, right? So he says, well, I don't consent to being canceled. It's funny, he doesn't want to consent to being, he doesn't give consent to be canceled, and also doesn't want girls to have consent, over their own bodies. That's just the last point I wanted to make. Moving on. Two weeks ago, former mayor and Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani was ordered by a Manhattan district judge to pay over $200,000 in back payments to his ex-wife. If he didn't, well, he would be jail. Now, in a lawsuit, Judith Giuliani, to whom he was married from 2003 to 2018 and had no children with, thank goodness for that, claimed her former spouse had fallen behind on his alimony payments, totaling at $262,000 from their 2019 divorce settlement, as per the New York Post. If the amount is not paid by the state, paid by that date, I'm going to be forced, unfortunately, because it's not something I want to do, I'm going to be forced to remand the defendant into custody, said Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Michael Katz. The following day, Giuliani had told the Post, quote, I didn't know about the court date. I've never missed a court date. I'm a pretty busy guy. One of the busiest in the United States. Are you, though? Are you really? Now, what's funny is that I never miss a court date. But you did miss a bunch of payments to your ex-wife, and that's why you have a court date to begin with. If you were just paid what you were supposed to pay, well, then you wouldn't have had to, have a court date. So, but of course, in order to pay that, you would actually have to have money. Now, why wouldn't he have money? Oh, right. Up until recently, he was representing former President. Oh, yeah. Trump. Well, no wonder he didn't get paid. Because Donald Trump, we know he stiffs everybody, especially his lawyers, which has led to Rudy Giuliani hilariously scrambling to try to make money any way that he can. Because look, when you cuck yourself for Donald Trump, as he had, nobody's going to want to touch you. People are not lining up to hire Rudy Giuliani. All right? That's why he's hustling his ass on Cameo. That's why there were reports that he fired at least 5 members of his entourage in order to pay for the legal fees. Now, as I mentioned, that was 2 weeks ago. Well, there's an update. According to WNBC reporter Miles Miller, Judge Katz, because that money's due today, has put the sheriff on notice to arrest Giuliani for contempt if he does not pay this by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. Now, Giuliani says, well, I don't know if I have the money. I'm being sued in 13 to 14 different cases. I'm in a different financial situation than I was before. You know what that means? Homeboy is broke. Wait a minute. I don't remember Rudy Giuliani going woke. Okay, no. Let's go to the fun. Because it appears that on this news, the internet had a little fun with this. Okay. Now, Midas Touch tweeted earlier. A judge said Rudy Giuliani would be thrown in jail if he doesn't fork over $225,000 plus lawyer fees that he owes his ex-wife by today. TikTok Rudy. Don Hamd Trumpistan says, Happy Rudy Giuliani Incarceration Day to those who celebrate. Well, yeah, I definitely am one of those. The USA Singers tweets, aren't there any charitable Russian oligarchs who want to give Rudy Giuliani $225K so he can stay out of prison? I hope not. Another one says, condolences to the cellmate who will be forced to huff his farts. It's too good. It's too good. Look, what's funny about that, by the way, is I missed this story when it came out because, and it's part of Maggie Haberman's book, right? But she talked about how Trump would literally make fun of Rudy Giuliani when he would, like, blow up the bathroom.
Big, massive dumps. All
right, here's what she wrote. While aboard the former president's planes for Giuliani, Trump made it a point to loudly complain about the odor after Giuliani had used one of the plane's bathrooms. So loud that other aides could hear, Rudy, that's fucking disgusting.
Dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Oh, my God. Okay. But you know what? Who can forget this face? That's Jenna Ellis after Giuliani farted on her. Okay. Anyway, look. I don't know if he's going to get arrested. I mean, TikTok, right? He's got until 5 p.m. Today. By the time this is going to go out on YouTube for a video, we'll know the answer. Because, I usually post the stuff and it gets released by about 6 p.m. Eastern. And this will be a little bit later. But in either case, whether or not he comes up with the money last minute or not, I'd be very surprised to find out if any of that money came from Donald Trump. If Donald Trump lifted a single finger to help Rudy Giuliani financially, I would be very, very surprised. Because he hasn't done so far. Again, hasn't even paid him for the legal work that he had done before. Because Donald Trump doesn't pay people. And that's even after Rudy served Trump for years, repeatedly cucking himself. Hey, it turns out that's what you get. It's sort of one of those, play stupid games, win stupid prizes thing. So we're just waiting to see if Rudy Giuliani gets the stupidest prize of all. All right. Let's actually go to the Trump story before we get into the other one. It's a little bit more serious because we've been having a little bit of a fun story day today, but let's go a little bit more serious. This is related to the first Trump impeachment. All right. It appears that Republican senators were deeply involved in former President Donald Trump's impeachment defense, far more than we had actually known before. So now this is according to a new book shared with HuffPost, an exclusive. they note that Republican senators were far more deeply involved in orchestrating President Donald Trump's defense in his first impeachment trial than previously known. Politico's Rachel Bade and the Washington Post's Harun Demirjian offered a behind-the-scenes look at the two failed efforts to remove Trump from political power. First attempt, which began in 2019, culminated in an early 2020 Senate trial, dealt with Trump's withholding of aid to Ukraine on the condition that the country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, would announce an investigation into Biden and his son. Now, the House, look, that was it was a perfect call. It was a great call. Well, the House didn't think so. They impeached him for abuse of power. However, of course, as we know, it played out that the Republicans in the Senate overwhelmingly backed Donald Trump. 99-1. Or sorry, not 99-1. No. It was the majority was all the Republicans in the Senate, except for Mitt Romney. So, just want to correct myself. That said, Trump and his defense team had maintained that he had done nothing wrong through January of 2020 trial, and that no quid pro quo had taken place, even though he was caught on tape telling Zelensky to, quote unquote, do us a favor by launching a probe of Biden ahead of the 2020 election. You also had Trump lawyer Alan Dershowitz, who, by the way, no longer treated warmly in Martha's Vineyard. Oh, how sad. He argued before the entire Senate that Trump could have done whatever he wanted to get himself reelected if he believed that his own reelection were in the public interest. Oh, hey, go ahead and break the law. As long as it's, as long as you believe it's in the country's interest, you can do whatever you want. Shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, go ahead. Now, imagine if Democrats want to make that argument. We're doing something that is, again, an overwhelmingly political move, right? In order to try to win an election. I mean, you can't do that. You can't make that argument. And so, look, when Biden does some, for example, measure of student loan relief and or legalizing, not legalizing, sorry, but decriminalizing, marijuana, which he hasn't done yet, but he's taken some steps to do, Republicans have screamed. Dictator Biden, shredding the Constitution. He must be impeached. And yet, Donald Trump does this, and the Republicans are like, what? Well, perfectly good call. Perfectly good call. Now, that's what they were saying publicly. However, behind the scenes, Republicans were not happy with this. They were actually quite alarmed. According to the book, Senator Roy Blunt told Trump's team to fire Dershowitz on the spot, whereas Ted Cruz had warned them to switch tactics, saying that they were not going to be effective. Quote, out of 100 senators, you have 0 who believe that there was no quid pro quo. None. There's not a single one, Cruz reportedly said at one point. That's Ted Cruz. Yeah, he knows. And by the way, that contradicts what Republicans were publicly saying about those same charges at the time. None of them believed that there wasn't quid pro quo. And there's Ted Cruz saying it, but that's not even like the best reaction. But first, look, Cruz is a lawyer, or was a lawyer, and he knew a little bit about the law and was like, yeah, this looks pretty bad. Graham, his response was more telling. After Trump's legal team fumbled responding to a senator's question about calling new witnesses, Graham basically stormed off, yelling, quote, "We're fucked. We are fucked." But wait, that's not how it turned out. Again, Republicans controlled the Senate, and if they would have to vote on this as they served as the jury. So now, if everybody in the Senate agrees that this was quid pro quo and was an impeachable defense, then, well, why didn't they vote that way? Well, it's because it's about power. they put their power ahead of doing their jobs. Again, they're supposed to be neutral as jurors in the Senate, but we can see that they were anything but neutral. They, in fact, were even able to get other so-called moderate Republicans to try to stop witnesses from being called. And they were right. One witness was John Bolton. Now, John Bolton is a complete and utter ghoul. We know that. There's an award that John Bolton doesn't like. But Bolton's like, yeah, I can testify that Trump had told me specifically that he had withheld military aid from Ukraine, which eventually they were shown to have actually needed because they were invaded later by Russia, in order to obtain an investigation into Biden and his son. So he wasn't allowed to testify, though. The Senate voted against it. Then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell played a pivotal role in doing so, in convincing GOP Senators Lisa Murkowski and Lamar Alexander, Tennessee, to vote against hearing from witnesses at that trial. Because they realized that those witnesses would be incredibly damning for their case. And that if they publicly were like, yes, we'll listen to the witness testimony and we're still going to vote for Trump, we're still going to, say that Trump is not guilty, well, that's going to look really, really bad. I guess not that it would matter in hindsight, due to how, Republicans bend over backwards to support Trump, no matter what he does. Still, at the time, Republicans were like, yeah, we can't have this. We cannot let these people testify because not only, and their reasoning is, it'll divide the Senate and we'll lose control. Again, all about power. In fact, here's what McConnell told his caucus. Quote, this is not about the president. It's not about anything he's been accused of doing. It has always been about November 3rd, 2020. It's about flipping the Senate. So understand that that's giving away the whole game. They don't care about anything except for power. So you have to understand that. It's not about the law. It's not about holding him accountable. They're like, we don't care. We don't care. Oh, he could break as many laws as he wants. We don't give a damn as long as we're in power. And of course, we're going to also make up things and promise to go after Joe Biden if we get control in order to take away his power. Because that's the whole point. That's why, by the way, Republicans, yes, still behind Trump, and are behind Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, who paid for an abortion of an ex-girlfriend. So, look, I don't care. I think it's totally fine. I think it's totally moral if you can go get an abortion and you pay for it. That's fine. But it's the hypocrisy that is the problem. And all of his advisors, Republicans that were pushing him and supporting him, they all knew that Herschel Walker did this. They knew about his past. They don't care. They know he's a liar. They know he's a hypocrite. They know he doesn't care about being pro-life. Because remember, none of them do. Because it's never been about life. It's always been about power. It's always been about control. And they also don't care that he has literal brain damage. But it doesn't matter. I showed you the video here of Dana Loesch, who said the quiet part out loud. She said, I don't care. I don't care if he, aborted baby eagles. I don't give a damn what he's done. This is not about him. This is about taking power. This is about the Senate. So understand what Republicans are there for. They don't have any morals. They don't have any core. The only thing that they have ever cared about is getting and maintaining power. All right. Pretty clear? I think I'm clear. Okay. Let's see. Let's actually go, we'll leave the religion story to the end. And we're actually going to go to More political stuff. All right. There we go. On Thursday, President Joe Biden announced a blanket pardon for all federal prisoners who are serving time for the simple possession of marijuana, along with, of course, ordering Xavier Becerra to look at rescheduling cannabis away from Schedule 1. And I think those are very positive moves, which are expected to help thousands of people, just the pardons by themselves. Now, of course, whenever you actually try to help people, you end up making Republicans furious. And so I put together a little compilation of Republicans that are not happy about this. Take a look.
Too many lives have been upended by marijuana.
It starts with marijuana, but where does it go from there?
I happen to think that marijuana is a gateway drug.
Does marijuana open us up to the demonic?
It's dangerous stuff.
And then a few years later, they decriminalized hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, LSD, and even meth.
I know everybody talks about, medical marijuana. It's not approved by the FDA. Who wants this so badly, right? Who wants it? How did this happen?
3/4 of Americans think that we should legalize marijuana.
I think Barack Obama's into it. Maybe he's a habitual pot smoker. Who knows? He certainly liked it in his youth.
I've seen people who've even become demonized. One of our friends was demonized by a spirit of marijuana.
When you smoke pot, you get sloppy and stupid, all right? I know there are people out there who swear by this stuff. You don't know what you're talking about.
There's a lot in that was funny. But I think my favorite thing right now is to hear right-wingers talk about marijuana. Because, again, they can't get more ridiculous. Oh, there's a spirit of marijuana. Oh, okay. So, look, let's get to the argument of cannabis not approved by the FDA. What about all the weirdo supplements that people took for COVID? That Republicans were saying, no, great for COVID. Like, for what was it? Hydroxychloroquine. Not approved for use against COVID. For other things, yes, but the FDA did not clear it for COVID. They took it anyway. And some even took like the horse stuff. It's crazy. What about all the other stuff that Alex Jones sells? You know, like the Brain Force Plus. Or who can forget the Daily Instahard? Okay. Oh, and look, by the way, the Republican Party is running Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, his entire TV career was using his TV show to slang dubious non-FDA approved supplements. So, I mean, come on, you want to talk about that? You want to talk about, it's not approved by the FDA, this marijuana's. Well, what about that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Their arguments, they're either not true or they're just completely bonkers. My friend, he was possessed by a marijuana spirit. That actually sounds kind of fun. Hey, marijuana spirit, let's party. But I think my favorite was Greg Kelly immediately going to Barack Obama. Now, here's the thing. There's actually criticism from the left for Barack Obama. Obama should have been the one to have done this already. It should have had to taken this long, to have Biden take these very simple steps. It should have happened a long time ago. But Obama, he was in the position to do so, and he didn't. The guy smoked weed in college and became president of the United States of America. But then, he decided to let everyone else who got caught for possession in federal crimes or federal prison, they would rot in federal prisons. If anybody should have done this, it should have been Obama. But hey, look, it took Biden to do this. And while I'm glad that it's done, it shouldn't have taken this long. And by the way, there's criticism of Biden on this. At least 5 members of Biden's staff were fired for having used marijuana in their past. Not even on their job, just in their past, even though they were told it wouldn't matter. For example, the Daily Beast reported back in March of 2021 that dozens of young White House staffers had either been asked to resign or suspended or put in remote work program over their past marijuana use, despite assurances earlier that their past marijuana use would not impact their employment. So let's just be honest about the history of this, right? And I can do that, but I can also give credit to a good thing that President Biden had done. Now, that really takes the wind out of the sails of a lot of these right-wing arguments. Look, I wish Democrats were as cool as the right wing makes them out to be, honestly, while trying to paint them as quote-unquote dangerous leftists. Well, dangerous leftists, yes, I like being a dangerous leftist. That's a good thing. It turns out it's actually popular. But look, the whole right-wing reefer madness response, by the way, they're just talking about the pardons. They haven't even actually done the other stuff yet. Marijuana is not legal across the country. It's not even decriminalized federally. We're just working. It's the first step towards doing that. But look, the freak out, number one, is incredibly hilarious. But secondly, it's incredibly predictable. But it's not because they care about safety. It's not because, they care about the people and they don't want them trapped in a cycle of drugs. No, the real reason that they hate this move by the Biden administration is, well, they're going to admit it.
I think this will be very impactful for Joe Biden and Democrats in terms of winning over a large portion of the voter electorate that thinks this is an important issue. There are a lot of Democrats, and 3/4 of Americans think that we should legalize marijuana. So that is something, certainly a factor in him making this decision. I see this as a ploy to, in midterms, to gain support and gain voters.
Oh, it's a ploy. It's a ploy to gain voters. How dare you do things that are popular? Of course that's what it is. Look, sure, first you cancel some student loan debt, and now you're going to reschedule marijuana while pardoning people, which is supported by 3/4 of the country, while our party sits here and tries to ban reproductive rights. So wait a minute. The Democrats are offering freedom from student loan debt, or at least significant portions of student loan debt, and freedom for people who should never have been locked up in the first place? While Republicans are restricting freedom, and you wonder why these things are popular. You wonder why you might lose in these midterms. Look, I don't know if you know this, but I think the Democrats have started to catch on here. When you do things that people like, that tends to make you a little bit more popular. It might actually help you win elections. I know that it's anathema to Republicans because all they've been using trying to do to win elections is fearmonger about brown people and suppress other people's votes to win. But it turns out that the Democrats, at least Joe Biden, has figured out that doing somewhat popular things might make people turn out and vote. And so we might want to do some popular things. Good. I hope he keeps at it. Let's go, Brandon. Not ironic. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, dank Brandon. I hope he keeps at it. Because it turns out I like when politicians do popular things. Weird. But that's why they're actually really angry. All right. Go to the next one. More freak out. A Fox News medical expert recently threw cold water on Laura Ingram's Reefer Madness party. Look.
This is only going to get worse. You can kind of see this train coming down the track. Your reaction tonight?
Yes, well, it definitely is getting worse with the lax attitude towards all drugs in general. But I do want to say that President Biden, in his pardoning of marijuana users, I agree with him. No one should go to jail simply for smoking a joint. That's ridiculous. And in fact, President Biden has been very anti-legalization.
Oops. Well, that just happened to have been Dr. Russell Kammer saying things that are true. Huh. Yes, by the way, when he said that Biden is anti-legalization, that is true. That is also correct. That's not the message that you're going to hear from Fox News. You're hearing from Fox News like, oh, he's going to legalize marijuana, then he's going to legalize crack, and then he's going to get your kids hooked on crack as they're grooming the kids and drinking their adrenochrome. That's the right way. So, look, they've massively embraced QAnon. So, I wish that were an exaggeration. It's not. It's not. But no, the other thing that he said that's correct is, yes, it is ridiculous to throw people in prison for a joint. Something that doesn't harm other people. And look, that's the reality of what our drug laws are doing. They're harming people. They're hurting people. They're taking away people's freedom over a plant. It's ridiculous. And yet, here is Fox News, who claim, whose hosts claim to be in favor of freedom, advocating that the state take away your freedom if you're caught with that plant. They're against this. It is ridiculous. Now, look, before you sing the praises of Mr. Kammer, no, he did also say that his real fight is with the so-called cannabis criminals in New York, who he claimed are using public money to start an addiction for profit industry. But hey, look, okay, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what he means. But still, look, obviously, when it comes to cannabis use, I do think that there should be restrictions on it, right? For people over 18, you shouldn't drive or operate heavy machinery. These are all common sense things. And of course, you should be very mindful of your secondhand smoke. But other than that, have fun. Have the spirit, the marijuana spirit come and visit you. Because the only thing that's going to happen is, you're going to want to visit Taco Bell. You're going to want to get delivery. That's what's the worst that's going to happen. Enjoy your life. As long as you are not hurting anyone else with your use, that's all that should matter. Okay. All right. So let's go to one last segment here. Bad advice that you just shouldn't take. Not restricted. It's a medicine. We need it. It's medicine. If you're prescribed it, then yes, no restrictions. But for recreational use, then restricted to people 18-year-old. Again, I'm just talking about recreational use. If you have a prescription for it, that's different. Hope I'm clear on that. Okay. A preacher of an online religious all right, hold on. A preacher of an online religious show is giving out some pretty questionable advice, saying that if God tells you to murder somebody, let's go ahead and do it.
Well, I'm going to say something controversial that will absolutely delight atheists, because they like to take, not all atheists, some internet atheists like to take things out of context and use it to make me look bad. I don't care. If God really told them to do it, then they were right. If God didn't tell them to do it, then they were wrong. And they were just a murderer, and a delusional murderer who's blaming God, which just makes it worse. But if God himself actually tells you, He's like, hey, I am the ultimate governor of all of life, and I have judicially said that person is going to die, and I'm telling you to do it.
That's Christian preacher Mike Winger, who says, hey, look, if God tells you to murder somebody, I mean, it's God telling you, so you have to. You just have to. Now, there's a lot of things to say about this, obviously. Look, for what is an atheist, and part of what he said in that answer is, atheists would be very delighted for me to say this. No, I'm not, because it's insane. Okay. Look, I'm sure many of you might have heard the saying, if you talk to God, you might be religious. If God talks to you, you might be crazy. And that's sort of the issue here. Don't listen to voices in your head. That's bizarre. Now, later on in the segment here, he does allude to that a little bit. Let's take a look.
As a Christian, do I expect this to happen? Not really. Biblically, does it happen? Do we have is the Apostle Paul, every few years, he's just turns into Jason Bourne and he's like, God told me to kill Simon the sorcerer. No, the worst thing the apostles have done was to tell someone you're not part of our church anymore if you're going to keep living in sin like that. God takes care of them. Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world, otherwise my servants would fight. So we don't fight to establish the Christianity, to establish the kingdom. This is God told me not to. In other words, I don't because God told me not to. So as a Christian, in principle, if God tells you to kill someone, yes, you should, it's God. But in practical reality, I really don't expect this to happen. Not that there can never be an exception, but if anybody comes up to me and says, God told me to kill so-and-so, my default is to think they're probably wrong, because there's a lot more weirdos out there than there are people that God is telling to do something like that.
Okay, so look, I wanted to give you the context here of his full answer, or most of it, because it doesn't even look better with the context. It still sounds pretty bad. Even the context, if he's still saying that if you hear something that you believe is God, because how do you know the difference? And that voice in your head tells you to murder somebody. Oh yeah, you totally do it. I mean, I believe it's the voice of God. Even though, he does admit, well, there are weirdos. No, there are people that have massive mental illness that believe they hear the voice of God, because how do you know it is or isn't? It's insane. And look, and here's the other thing too. This is one of my big problems with religion is all the contradictions. Okay, one of the commandments says, "Thou shalt not kill." Well, wait a minute. God just told you to kill somebody. You're breaking God's law, but you're also following God. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So now, again, the big question here is, how would you know it's God and not your mental illness? That's why this is just a ridiculous question and a ridiculous answer. Now, the other thing is, why, if God's all powerful, wouldn't they just take care of it themselves? Shoot a lightning bolt? Give them cancer? Something? Now, look, the guy's obviously trying to answer a question that he considers to be difficult. That's not a difficult question. For me, it's no, don't murder people. But you see that the guy's got to pretzel himself to give himself an answer. But look, the other thing too is he had said that atheists hate me anyway. No, I don't know this guy. I don't hate him. I disagree with him massively, but I don't care what people believe as long as they don't hurt other people. The thing about this guy's advice, and a lot of religion in general, is that it keeps being used to hurt other people. Which is why, again, I don't agree with organized religion or fundamentalist religion. I think that if you're going to have religion, you need to be using it to help people, not to hurt them. So, anyway, that's my advice. Don't murder people because of voices in your head. Get help. All right. Look, that's all I got for today. Why don't we read some super chats before we go? Monty Darno says, it's Friday. Hell yeah. Gotta love that. Let's see. Greg 118 says, love you, Jeff. Thank you for making me laugh. Thank you for being a member, by the way, for 3 months. Appreciate that. Vitingale, thank you for being a member for 13 months. And says, like 48, Jesse Peterson, not a role model. Yeah, true. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
There we go. And LOL says, can't wait for Fox News to start talking about Soros-funded Antifa brigades breaking into your lakefront home to force you to take bong rips. Sounds delightful. Sounds delightful.
I apologize for nothing. I concede nothing.
That's right. That's right.
Go for it, bitch. Come at me.
All right. Anyway. Too much fun today. Too much fun. Twitch. Let's go to Twitch. Let's see. Drip alert. Thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1. Appreciate that. For 4 months. Right said Rob, thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1. Appreciate that for 3 months. And High Anxiety Dragon Girl, thank you for resubbing for a month at tier 1 for 3 months. Love you, Acid Dragon. All is well. Appreciate it. All right. That's about it. 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes for Rudy Giuliani to pay up or go to jail. Fun. Well, I'm sure we'll have, if anything happens, we'll have maybe a little bit of a report on that come Monday, but I'm not sure.
I have not loved this conversation.
All right. Anyway, so we'll see you back here on Monday. Thank you all. Make sure to tune in, of course, on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to get the whole hour of the show. If you haven't, if you missed any of the segments, put the videos up on YouTube, Facebook, youtube.com/Waldorf Nation, and facebook.com/Jeff Waldorf Show. So, all right, everybody, love you all. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here. Remember, change begins with you. Good night.
There's some whores in this house.
Sexual anarchy.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Well, I do not consent.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Tighten up my meat. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Fired! Fired!
Bitch, move it along.